Handa ka na ba kung sakali po na magkaroon talaga ng lindol? Narito po ang ilang tips na dapat tandaan sa oras na lumindol. Nagpapatrol, Atom Araulio.
Ang lindol ay nangyayari ng walang babala. Sakaling biglang yumanig ang lupa, alam mo ba ang gagawin? Doktor, pag-usapan natin yung dapat gawin habang lumilindol. So ito yung classic na duck cover and hold.
Yung duck cover and hold is, you have to go under, seat cover,
Okay.
and then hold. Walang problema dyan. Ang kailangan mo lang, habang nag-hold ka, gising yung mata mo. Huwag mo siyang patayin.
Okay.
You don't know what's happening around. Sa Japan, ang ginagawa nila, dumidikit sila sa wall.
Okay.
No? Yung orientation is wall, atom. Kasi ang paniniwala nila, pag namatay na lahat ng ilaw, yung wall ang
Magiging
mag-guide nila. Kasi lahat ng walls merong window, merong door.
Ano ba yung may papayo natin unang-una sa mga kababayan natin? Kapag lindol, kailan ba sila dapat mag-evacuate?
Antayin muna natin tumigil yung paggalaw. Tapos pag tumigil yung galaw, tingnan natin sarili natin. Meron ba tayong pinsala? May sugat tayo? Pag wala naman tayong sugat, hanggat maaari agad tayong lumikas. Kasi ang aftershock, pwedeng sumunod agad yan.
Pagsasagawa ng emergency drill para sa iyong pamilya, ano ba yung mga dapat alalahanin ng mga pamilya dito?
Ano ang trabaho ng bawat isa? Ikaw ba, go bag? Ikaw ba, ang trabaho mo ay, kung ikaw yung palaging nasa kusina, automatic mapapatay mo ba yung LPG? Pero nire-require ko bawat isa sa pamilya, meron siyang sarili niyang go bag. So aalamin mo kung saan yung
Mga panganib.
na saan ka tatakbo. Pangalawa, saan kayo magkikita.
Babala pa ni Director Renato Solidum, napakaraming pinsala ang maaaring madulot ng isang lindol.
Importante, yung bawat pamilya meron tinatawag na emergency bag. Backpack na paglalagyan mo ng tubig, ng pagkain, easy to open, mga canned food, transistor radio, yun yung gamit natin na way of communication, mga flashlight, extra dadabit, whistle, mga importanteng identification or whatever na importante sa iyo. First aid, kailangan.
Atom Araulio, ABS-CBN News.
At any second of any day, a major earthquake can strike in California. The experts tell us it's not a question of if, but when. We must all be prepared for the inevitable destructive earthquake. California is no stranger to large earthquakes. In 1906, the Great San Francisco earthquake occurred, one of the most significant earthquakes of all time. In more recent times, California has experienced significant quakes with both the Loma Prieta and northwards earthquakes. Scientists do not yet have the information needed to predict earthquakes, and no region within the state is immune from the potential for major earthquake damage. When you feel the first ground motions, you must immediately drop to the floor. Take cover under a desk or table. If you're not near a desk or table, drop to the floor against an interior wall. Resist the urge to panic. Stay put and do not move from under the shelter. Research has shown that most injuries occur when people inside buildings attempt to move to a different location inside the building or try to leave it. So do not run outside where you could be vulnerable to the danger of falling debris. Stay away from windows, bookcases, cabinets, or other objects that could topple and fall. Hold on until the shaking stops. The reason to hold on to the desk or table is if it moves, you move with it. At a desk or table located near a window, get underneath it and pull your chair in as close as you can to shield yourself from possible breaking glass. Again, resist the urge to panic and flee. Remain calm even though you may witness the loss of electricity, the sound of various alarms, and activation of the fire sprinkler system. Do not be surprised by the noise from broken glass, creaking walls, or falling objects. The main thing to remember is remain calm and resist fleeing. If you're inside, stay inside. If you're outside, stay there. Resist the urge of running toward a building. Instead, find a safe location and drop, cover, and hold. Try to move to an open area, away from overhead power lines, building facades, architectural embellishments, or windows. If you're confined to a wheelchair, lock your wheels. Lean forward and cover your neck with your hands and arms. If you're in a stairwell, drop and cover next to an interior wall. Remain there until the tremor stops and follow directions that are announced over the public address system. In the restroom, remain there and cover your head with your arms and protect yourself from falling objects. If you're driving, gradually decrease speed. Pull over to the side of the road and stay in the vehicle until the shaking stops. Do not stop under overpasses or bridges. Turn on the radio and listen for advisories, and keep in mind aftershocks follow the initial quake. Do not begin to drive until local authorities have deemed it is safe to do so.
The city has just been hit by an earthquake.
Immediately after an earthquake, remain in the same position for several minutes in case of aftershocks. When coming out from under a table or desk, be careful of any debris on the floor, such as broken glass, which may cause injuries. Do not attempt to leave your immediate area or evacuate unless absolutely necessary. Once the tremors have stopped, follow instructions broadcast over the public address system or from a floor warden. Now is the time to assess your work area in preparation for the inevitable big earthquake. Of particular attention are heavy or loose objects, and glass windows or partitions. If your work area is near a window or glass partition, make a decision now where you will take cover when a tremor starts. Under your desk with the chair pulled tightly against the desk is a good way to guard against flying glass. The area under your desk needs to be clear of any boxes or other items. Heavy objects can also be a serious hazard if your work area is near a temporary wall or has loose partitions. Take the time now to make sure they are securely anchored. Loose objects, such as materials stored on top of cabinets or shelves, can fall during a quake, causing injury. Remove these items to another area or to a low shelf. keep overhead cabinet doors closed when not in use. Your department should maintain emergency supplies. At a minimum, the following items should be kept readily available: a 3-day supply of non-perishable food and water, first aid kit, blankets, flashlights, radio, and batteries. Please take the time now to prepare yourself and your work area for the next big California earthquake. The tips and drills discussed in this video should be practiced and kept fresh in your mind so that they can be used in an instant when the next major earthquake hits.
Unlike some other natural disasters, there is no season for earthquakes. They can strike at any time, day or night, without warning. The majority of the United States is susceptible to an earthquake of some magnitude, not just the West Coast. The central Mississippi Valley, parts of the East Coast, and the U.S. territories are also at risk. So it's important to learn how to protect ourselves from earthquakes. Start by looking throughout your home for items that could cause injury, break or cause property damage if they fall, move or dislodge during an earthquake. This can be done by following these 3 easy steps. Look up, look around, and look down. First, look up. Identify overhead objects that need to be secured. For example, ceiling fans, chandeliers, and pendant lights should be supported with a minimum 9-gauge wire cable that is bolted to the ceiling joist or beam. The cable should have enough slack to allow it to sway. Next, look around. There are 5 categories of items you'll need to be on the lookout for: hanging decorations, heavy furniture, items located on shelves and tabletops, electronics, and cabinet doors. Secure hanging decorations like pictures and mirrors by hanging them from closed hooks. Or you can close open hooks with a pair of pliers. The number of hooks needed for each object will depend on size and weight. Large objects are more stable when hung from 2 hooks and are sufficiently screwed directly into the studs. Hooks that are simply embedded into drywall or plaster are likely to pull out, allowing objects to fall. Move heavy furniture like bookcases, china cabinets, and entertainment centers away from beds, sofas, desks, or other places where people sit or sleep. Take special note of anything heavy enough to cause bodily injury or that can block an exit. Secure heavy items once they've been moved. Use flexible fasteners such as nylon straps to secure top-heavy furniture to at least 2 wall studs. L-shaped metal brackets with lag screws into studs can also be used. However, flexible fasteners are better because they allow objects to sway, reducing the strain on wall studs. Items on shelves and tables can fall and break, creating dangerous conditions. In more severe earthquakes, they can become deadly projectiles. Install a lip edge or other type of restraining device to keep books and other objects from sliding off shelving. Keep your electronics like televisions, stereos, and computers secure with buckles and safety straps that allow for easy relocation. Secure other items like lamps, pottery, and collectibles with Velcro glued to both the items and furniture, or non-damaging adhesives like earthquake or museum putty, clearquake gel, or microcrystalline wax. Secure doors to kitchen cabinets and other storage units like entertainment systems and china cabinets with child-proof hook and eye or positive catch latches to prevent stored items from crashing to the floor. Once you have completed the steps described so far, you are 2/3 of the way to better protecting your home. The final step is to look down. During earthquakes, unsecured appliances often fall over, rupturing rigid water and gas connections. Secure your water heater with 2 steel straps screwed into the studs or masonry of the wall and install flexible corrugated copper water connectors. Post-earthquake fire can be as deadly and destructive as the earthquake itself and often starts with gas leaks. Make sure appliances such as stoves and clothes dryers have flexible gas or electrical connectors to reduce the risk of fire. Locate your gas shutoff valve and make sure you know how to turn off the gas supply to your home with the use of a wrench. Be sure to keep the appropriate wrench close to the gas valve. Consider installing an automatic gas shutoff valve that activates when sensors register ground shaking or an increased flow in gas. Finally, relocate any flammable liquids to a safe garage or outside storage location. For financial protection, contact your insurance company or agent and consider purchasing earthquake insurance. Remember, to protect your family, home, and belongings, look up, look around, look down. For more information on protecting your home, visit flash.org and FEMA.gov.
Earthquakes have always been a terrifying phenomenon, and they've become more deadly as our cities have grown, with collapsing buildings posing one of the largest risks. Why do buildings collapse in an earthquake, and how can it be prevented? If you've watched a lot of disaster films, you might have the idea that building collapse is caused directly by the ground beneath them shaking violently or even splitting apart. But that's not really how it works. For one thing, most buildings are not located right on a fault line, and the shifting tectonic plates go much deeper than building foundations. So what's actually going on? In fact, the reality of earthquakes and their effect on buildings is a bit more complicated. To make sense of it, architects and engineers use models, like a 2-dimensional array of lines representing columns and beams, or a single-line lollipop with circles representing the building's mass. Even when simplified to this degree, these models can be quite useful, as predicting a building's response to an earthquake is primarily a matter of physics. Most collapses that occur during earthquakes aren't actually caused by the earthquake itself. Instead, when the ground moves beneath a building, it displaces the foundation and lower levels, sending shock waves through the rest of the structure and causing it to vibrate back and forth. The strength of this oscillation depends on 2 main factors: the building's mass, which is concentrated at the bottom, and its stiffness, which is the force required to cause a certain amount of displacement. Along with the building's material type and the shape of its columns, stiffness is largely a matter of height. Shorter buildings tend to be stiffer and shift less, while taller buildings are more flexible. You might think that the solution is to build shorter buildings so that they shift as little as possible. But the 1985 Mexico City earthquake is a good example of why that's not the case. During the quake, many buildings between 6 and 15 stories tall collapsed. What's strange is that while shorter buildings nearby did keep standing, buildings taller than 15 stories were also less damaged. And the mid-sized buildings that collapsed were observed shaking far more violently than the earthquake itself. How is that possible? The answer has to do with something known as natural frequency. In an oscillating system, the frequency is how many back-and-forth movement cycles occur within a second. This is the inverse of the period, which is how many seconds it takes to complete one cycle. And a building's natural frequency, determined by its mass and stiffness, is the frequency that its vibrations will tend to cluster around. Increasing a building's mass slows down the rate at which it naturally vibrates, while increasing stiffness makes it vibrate faster. So in the equation representing their relationship, stiffness and natural frequency are proportional to one another, while mass and natural frequency are inversely proportional. What happened in Mexico City was an effect called resonance, where the frequency of the earthquake's seismic waves happened to match the natural frequency of the mid-sized buildings. Like a well-timed push on a swing set, each additional seismic wave amplified the building's vibration in its current direction, causing it to swing even further back, and so on, eventually reaching a far greater extent than the initial displacement. Today, engineers work with geologists and seismologists to predict the frequency of earthquake motions at building sites in order to prevent resonance-induced collapses, taking into account factors such as soil type and fault type, as well as data from previous quakes. Low frequencies of motion will cause more damage to taller and more flexible buildings, while high frequencies of motion pose more threat to structures that are shorter and stiffer. Engineers have also devised ways to absorb shocks and limit deformation using innovative systems. Base isolation uses flexible layers to isolate the foundation's displacement from the rest of the building, while tuned mass damper systems cancel out resonance by oscillating out of phase with the natural frequency to reduce vibrations. In the end, it's not the sturdiest buildings that will remain standing, but the smartest ones.
It takes just 3 steps to get ready for an emergency. Get an emergency supply kit, make a family emergency plan, and be informed about different types of emergencies. First, go to ready.gov to get a list of everything your emergency kit should contain.
And we're going to print this out. Okay, so we have our emergency supply list.
You probably have a lot of the items on hand already. You'll be able to find the rest in your local store.
Okay, let's get some granola bars. Okay, now we need enough for maybe about 3 days. So why don't you can get a couple different kinds. Go ahead, Jordan, grab a flashlight. C batteries we need. We should have enough food for 3 days, things that don't have to be refrigerated.
Next, put all the items together in a box that you can carry with you if you need to leave home in an emergency.
And we have lots of vegetables, because I know you don't want to live without your vegetables. Okay.
Make sure to include any medications and infant care items that your family needs. And if you have a pet, don't forget enough food and water for that member of the family.
Ready?
Who should be our out-of-state contact?
Your family may not be together when an emergency happens, so it's important to have a communications plan in place.
How about your parents?
Or my parents would be perfect, because one of them is always there.
Where do you think our neighborhood meeting place should be?
The kids would know the clubhouse.
You should also learn the emergency plans for your workplace and schools.
They take the kids to the high school if they need to evacuate our school.
Make sure everyone in your family is familiar with the plan and has a copy of all the contact numbers.
What this is, it has the information on it for what happens if there is an emergency. Okay, so let's put it somewhere very safe where it won't get mixed up with your homework, where you always know where it is. So let's say there was a natural disaster.
Ready.gov and links to local information will help you learn about the types of emergencies that could affect your area. The information will help you know what to do in case of any emergency, natural or man-made. You'll find everything you need to prepare yourself and your family for an emergency at ready.gov. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Jordan Sandler here with more Prepared Minutes. Well, hopefully you have an earthquake preparedness plan. But now the unthinkable actually happens. What do you do during an earthquake to reduce injury and increase your chances for survival? The Great Shakeout and other government emergency survival experts agree that drop, cover, and hold on is your best plan during an earthquake to save your life. Most injuries from deaths from earthquakes in the U.S. are from flying or falling objects and not collapsing buildings. If you're indoors, stay there. Drop to the ground. Take cover by getting under a sturdy desk or table and hold on to it until the shaking stops. If there isn't a table or desk near you, drop to the ground in an inside corner or inside wall of your home and cover your head and neck with your hands and arms. Avoid exterior walls, mirrors, windows, heavy furniture, fireplaces, and large appliances. The kitchen is a very dangerous spot. If you're outside, get into the open and stay clear of buildings, power lines, trees, or anything else that could fall on you. Now, there are many myths regarding what to do in an earthquake, and doing these can actually injure you. These are what experts recommend you do not do. Do not run outside or to other rooms during shaking. The exterior walls are the most dangerous place to be and the first to collapse. Do not stand in a doorway. In modern houses, doorways are no stronger than any other part of the house, and they will not protect you from falling or flying objects. Do not get in the triangle of life, which means getting next to a table instead of under it. This has been disproven by experts. And remember, most deaths and injuries from earthquakes are from flying or falling objects. Although most major earthquakes last less than 30 seconds, what you do in those short seconds can prevent injury and save your life. To be prepared for an earthquake, make sure you have a more prepared home survival kit on hand. For more information on what to do before, during, and after an earthquake, go to moreprepared.com. I'm Jordan Sandler with More Prepared, where peace of mind is just one click away.